Hi everybody, welcome back to Fossa Media. So in this video, the plan is to make a script to manage all your notes, which may not sound overly exciting, but since making it, I've actually found it to be quite useful. So I thought, why not make a video about it? So over here, my file manager is where I have all my notes. And the ones with the .ctb extension are for a note-taking application called Cherry Tree, which is this guy right here. But I've recently decided I want to export all these notes that are now in a CTB extension to a TXT format. And this is just in case the application is deprecated or just disappears for some reason in the future. It seems to be happening quite a bit lately. So I just wanted to start making plans to mitigate that. But not only that, it would also be nice to have easy access to all my notes in the terminal. So actually, I think what I'll do now is just run the script, at least show you what I've got so far. And then you can decide if you want to follow along. And then we'll rebuild it from scratch. So let's do that. So to run the script, because I already have the directory that the script is in added to my system path, and I've set an alias, all I have to do to run it is just type in notes. And I'll definitely too show you at the end, or maybe after you create the script, how you can also add it to your path and set an alias for it. But I'm just going to enter. And then right now it's showing me a couple different categories. So these categories are just the names of the directories that I have inside of my notes directory. So I'll say if I go over to my file manager here and go into TXT, there are those two categories, or the names of the directories that we were just looking at in the terminal. So we got applications and one for system, which is exactly what we're seeing here. So to see the notes that are in that directory, we just have to type in the name of that directory. So let's say applications. And then here's a list of notes that I have inside that directory. So some for Firefox, firewalls, grsync, I2P. And then if we go here and go into applications, Firefox, firewalls, grsync, I2P, all the same stuff right here. So to go inside one of those directories, we just also have to type it in. So I'll just say Firefox. And here are the two notes, or the two files that I have inside of that directory. So we got hardware acceleration and one for search bar. And then if we go back here and go into Firefox, there's one for hardware acceleration and another for search bar. And then select one of those. I'll just copy and paste it and hit enter. So now it's asking if I want to read or edit the document. So if we select read, it will just open up the file right here in the terminal using the cat command. And then if we select edit, it'll open up the file in a text editor. And in my case for today, I just chose Vim, but you can of course use whatever text editor you like. But for now, I think I'll just select read, hit enter. And now it's saying it's opening up in read format or read mode. And here's the contents of the document right here. So we got disable search and address bar and 3 different steps. And then if we open up this document right here, which is the one we just opened in the terminal, we got disable search and address bar and those 3 different steps. So the exact same thing. And that's pretty much it. So maybe I'll just rerun that really quick now and show you how to open it up in edit mode, see what happens there. So I'll rerun, I'll just select notes, type in applications, and Firefox, and paste that guy in again, hit enter. And then this time instead of selecting read, I'm going to select edit. And as you can see, it's now opened up the document inside of Vim. So now I can go ahead and edit the document if I want. And I'll get it here before I break something. And that's pretty much it. So nothing too crazy, but just something to be able to access your notes really quick in the terminal without having to say open up another application or navigate to it to find it somewhere on your system. So yeah, I think I'll do now maybe is just create the file. We'll add it, the directory that it's into the system path. We'll set an alias for it. We'll do a quick test run, make sure we can run it from anywhere in the terminal. And then we'll copy and paste all the code, run it again just to make sure everything works, as it's just copied and pasted from the website. And then I'll go through and explain exactly what everything is doing and how you can modify it to suit your needs. But theoretically, if you're not going to be doing anything too crazy and you have your notes set up similarly or to somewhat resemble the way I do, really all you're going to have to do is change one line which is just the path to your notes. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just create that directory now and go inside of my modules directory and then bash. And as you can see, I already have a bunch of stuff in there. So I think I'll just create a new directory and just call it testing. And there it is. So I'll just go into that and create the file. And do that. I'll just use a touch command. Just say touch. And I guess I'll just call this my notes.sh. And there it is right there. So now we just have to make it executable. And we can do that with the change mod command. And I'll say 755 here and apply it to everything. So now if we ls-l, there it is executable. So now I think I'll just open it up. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw in an echo so we can test it out. So I'll say, and just say success. And that'll save and quit. And now if you run it, success. But the only problem with this now is we can only run it within this directory. So let's say if I go into the home directory and try to run it. As you can see, we just get an error, which isn't great. So to fix that, we just have to add the path that the script is in into our bash RC. So let's open up the bash RC and scroll down here. And as you can see, I already have a bunch in here. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to add another path right here. So I already have one set for bash, Python, and Python drivers. But now I want to set one for bash testing because that's the directory we just created. So to do that, I'm just going to open up a new line here and then copy and paste this right here. And then just add a / and then testing. So all you need to do here is just say export and then path equals $path, then a colon, and then the path to wherever your directory is that you created your script in. And I'll just save and quit out of here. And then we have to rerun the bash RC for it to take effect. So I'll say source.bash RC and clear this. So now we should be able to run it from right here. So now if we just throw in the / there and say my notes, actually I'll do is say my notes.sh, hit enter. And right there we have success. So now we can run it from anywhere within the terminal. But it also be nice too to be able to drop this sh. So all we have to do is say my notes. So to do that, we can just open up the, you can either set this in your bash RC, or you can also set it in your bash aliases if you have one of those. And I think that's the route I'm going to take. So I'm just going to open up that. And I'll just throw it in right here. So we have to do is say alias. And I called this my notes. And say equals my notes.sh. And that looks good. So in case you've never said aliases before, you just say alias. Well, you probably already have if you're thinking about writing scripts. But you just say alias, whatever you want to call it, and then equals, and then the path to your script. Or not the path to your script, just the name of the script, and whatever you want to reference it whenever you call it. So I'm just going to say my notes. So all looks good. So I'll just save and quit out of here. And then rerun the bash RC again. So now we should be able to run the file just by saying my notes. Yeah, there we go. Success. So now we can run the file with anywhere within our terminal. And yeah, just call it by saying my notes. We don't need an extension or any of that stuff. And now let's go back into modules and open up the file. And there's right there. So I'll say vim, my notes.sh, and we can get rid of that. And I'll just go over to the website and see what's next. Oh yeah, I forgot about these dependencies. We got to install those quick first. So there's 4 different dependencies we need: Figlet, Lolcat, Cowsay, and Vim. So maybe just to show you those in detail here. So Figlet just creates this banner for us. Cowsay gives us this cow right here. Lolcat will add some color to this banner. And then Vim is just the text editor I'm using. So if you probably already have a text editor installed, and if you're not using Vim, you can just eliminate that from the command. But for me, I'll get rid of that. All I'd have to do is install these dependencies right here: Figlet, Lolcat, and Cowsay. So I was going to copy and paste this command right here. Go back over the terminal and just split that and throw that in here. And actually, before I do that, maybe I'll follow good practice here and update my system. There we go. Make this a bit bigger. And throw that command back in there. So we got sudo apt install Figlet, Cowsay, Lolcat, and Vim. We'll hit enter. And as you can see, I already had those installed. Oh, but now we got that taken care of. We can go back here. And next thing you'll have to do is find out where Bash is installed in your system. So theoretically, you probably have Bash installed in the same spot I do, and that's user bin bash. But in case you have a suspicion that that's not the case for you, to find that path, all you have to do is say which bash, and then enter, and that'll give you the path. So user bin bash, which is what we got here, right here, user bin bash. So I'm just going to copy all this. And don't worry, I'll explain what all this stuff is doing. But pretty much like I mentioned earlier, all you're really going to have to worry about is the path that's right here to your notes. And the rest of the stuff should take care of itself pretty much. So let's make sure I have all that selected. That looks good. So I'm just going to copy that. And then go back to the terminal and paste. And let's make sure it's all there. So we got the exit. Yep, it's all there. So I'm just going to save this. I'm just wondering if I should. Yeah, I'm just going to save and quit. And there it is. So now if we try to run it, you see my notes. Or we already need the .sh. Sorry about that. I'm just going to say my notes, hit enter. And here we go. So we'll say applications, Firefox. Actually, maybe I'll try something different here. Maybe I2P. And installation Java. And just say read. And there's all my notes for I2P, at least for the installation. So yeah, everything seems to be working so far. Maybe let's just try that again. And we'll select edit mode this time. So applications, I2P. Paste that guy in and enter. And then this time we'll select edit. And yep, this is Vim. So yeah, that worked just fine. So I'll get it here. What else? Let me check the error handling here. So I'll just put in a bad value. That category not found, closing application, goodbye. Perfect. And let's try that again here. So say applications. And throw in a bad value. Directory not found, closing application, goodbye. Perfect. Now let's try that once more here. Still going to system. Bash. And throw in a bad value. Document does not exist. Closing application, goodbye. Perfect. Okay, so I think everything's pretty much working the way it should. Maybe what I'll do now is just explain what it's doing. So I'll just open that up again. Okay, so right here at the top, we got our dependencies, which we already took care of. Right here, we're just going to provide the path to where the notes are on your system. So right here, I have mine in my home directory, /notes, /txt. And if I go back here, home directory, notes, txt. So yeah, all that looks good. And then down here, we just have a little bit of error handling. So we're just creating a function called error exit. And then whenever we say have a point in the script where we think it might fail, we can just add an or operator and then add this function after that. And then this will run if that command happens to fail. And all it's doing here is it's just saying an error message. So it's saying error. And then if I use a scroll bar here, well, I can't do that in Vim. Let's see here. So yeah, right here where it says error and then $1. So if a command fails, it's just going to say error. And then after it does that, I'll try to find an example here. It's going to read this right here. So say if it couldn't find this category, this directory, it will substitute that. So this is probably easier for me just to show you in the browser, but just the text is so much smaller. Maybe I'll try that. Hopefully you'll be able to see this okay. Okay, where were we here? Oh yeah, the error handling. Okay, right here where it says error and then $1. So what if an error does happen, it will just display error : and then the $1 is just a placeholder for this stuff right here. So say this command fails, it will go back up here, run this function right here, and then whatever the error is, that value will be printed out right here. And then after that, it's just going to sleep for a second. It's going to say it's closing, goodbye, and then it's going to exit with a status code of 1. So that means the program is exiting from an error. As you can see, we're down here at the very bottom where it says exit. That's just going to be a clean exit. I think you could also say exit 0 there. But yeah, we just want to make sure it's not 1. So yeah, maybe, sorry, I should probably explain this in a bit better detail here. So say if it tries to run this command right here, and that fails because it wasn't able to find that particular directory, it will, right here, it's diverting the error. Instead of standard out, displayed on the terminal, it's going to redirect that error message into dev null. So it's just going to disappear. And then we have the or operator right here. So if this command fails, it's just going to do this instead. And right here, what it's doing is it's running this function right here called error exit that we created right here. That's error exit. And shoot, where was I here? And then after it does that, it's going to substitute this value, or it's going to take that value and it's going to stick it in right here. So then after it errors out, it'll say closing application and goodbye. Actually, maybe I'll show you that now really quick. So I'll get it here and just say my notes. And I just type in some gibberish. And as you can see right here, category not found, closing application, goodbye. which is exactly what it's doing right here. So closing application, goodbye. And that takes care of our error handling. So anywhere we think we might have an error, all we have to do is redirect the output to dev null and then throw an OR operator in there. And then we'll run this function right here that we created up here. And then it'll also substitute in this value right here and say category not found. So yeah, after our error handling, so pretty much the script has done nothing. All it's done is saying, this is what I'm going to do if something bad happens. And then down here, first thing we're going to do is just we're going to clear the screen. And then we're going to display the banner, which is this guy right here. And that displays the banner. It's going to display what I call categories, but these are just the subdirectories within my notes directory that it's printing out. And after that, it's going to say select category, and that's just one of those directories. And after it does that, it's going to store that in the variable called read. And then if all that's good, it's going to list out the contents of that directory, which will be right here. And if it doesn't, it's going to redirect the output. And then it's going to throw this error message right here. And then if all that works okay, it's going to ask which directory they would like to choose within that directory. And then it's going to store that information in note_dir. And if all that's good, it will run this, display the contents of that directory, and it says available documentation. So these would be the actual files themselves. Will all be listed right here with this command. And this command will work. It doesn't need error handling as long as this one does. So if this one fails, it'll just say sorry or whatever, and it'll exit. But everything does go good. It'll come down here and it should read this just fine. But if it doesn't for some reason and things go south, we'll get another error message. So again, it's calling our error exit function that we created up top here. And then after it does all that stuff, it'll substitute this value in for that particular error that was found. So that way, if something errors out when we're running our script, we'll have a pretty good idea as to exactly where it is. And then right here, we're just going to be choosing the document. So at this point, we'll be inside of the last directory, and all the documents in that directory will be shown. And it's just asking the user which one they would like to view or edit. Excuse me. So here, all we have to do is type in whichever document we like, hit enter, and then that information will get stored inside of this variable right here. Or sorry, inside of this variable right here called document. This looks a little confusing too, because I'm using, say, read and write. And one command to accept input from a user is read. So in case you're seeing this twice in different spots, that's why. Because I'm actually just noticing it right now. That does look a little funny. But it's not going to affect anything. It's just may look a little weird if you're trying to troubleshoot this later. And then right here, we're choosing a mode. So we want to choose whether we want to read or write the file. And it's just listing out all the contents of that current working directory. Or sorry, it's listing out that document. And then it's asking if you want to read or edit it. And then it's going to store that information inside the variable called mode. And then if that fails for whatever reason, it's going to fire up our error detection function, I guess. And then it'll print out this message for us. Document does not exist. And then we finally get to the point where we actually display the contents of the document. So if mode equals read, and then calsay is going to come up. And it's going to say it's opening up whatever document was chosen in whatever mode it was chosen. And then it's going to sleep, and it's going to open up that document in cat if read was chosen. And if that happens to produce some kind of error, it will just push that error message to dev null. So we won't really need to see it. But then if it was opened up in edit mode, calsay will say it's opening up the document in edit mode. And then it will fire up Vim, which is the text editor. And you can substitute this for any other text editor on your machine you'd like. It doesn't have to be Vim. And it doesn't actually even have to be a terminal text editor. It could be even something like gedit or something like that. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's going to try to open up that document in edit mode in Vim. And if that fails, it'll just redirect the output to dev null again instead of standard out. And if for whatever reason any of this stuff just doesn't work, we'll get a final error message that just fires up our error handling function again, and it inputs this value. It just says invalid mode chosen. Because at this point, we would have already done all the error handling for the directories and the files. All it's asking us here at the end is what mode we want to choose it in. So we just need some kind of error handling just for that, because everything else should be pretty much covered. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. When I first started writing this script, I thought, oh yeah, this is just going to take 5 or 10 minutes. But it actually turned out to be much more confusing than I thought, because there's so many little variables and stuff that can go wrong, depending on exactly how you have your notes set up in your system. But typically, if you have them set up similar to what I do, pretty much what all you're going to need to do is just edit this one line right here. So all you're going to have to change is this, and just change that to the path to wherever your notes are. Because as you can see, mine right now as it is, it's home/notes.txt. And if I go over my file manager, we got home/notes/txt. So you may have to change a bit of wording around as to whatever your directories and stuff are called from the very start. But pretty much everything else should take care of itself, because I've used variables and placeholders for pretty much everything. So theoretically, if you get this part right at the top, everything else should work out just fine. You won't even really have to worry about this. And even if, say, you are just starting off with bash scripting, and you're not quite sure what you're doing, I think this may be a really good starter for you. It may be a little nerve-wracking at first, but depending, again, on how your notes are laid out, you just have to do a little bit of tweaking here and there to get everything to work, if your notes aren't set exactly the way as mine are. But other than that, I don't think you'll run into too many issues. And yeah, I think I've covered everything. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff because it took me so friggin' long to do this. This is like probably the 5th or 6th at least iteration that I've tried. And I have a few other examples. Actually, maybe I'll just show you those quick. It's kind of funny, actually. If we get out of here, maybe I'll just go back into bash. And as you can see, I have another one here called notes 1. I got one for notes 2. And these are just other versions that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. So I kind of just stuck them in here in case I might have a use for them someday. But maybe I'll just show you this really quick. So say if I say vim notes 1.sh. Yeah, as you can see, I don't know if you can really tell from right here, but this is written completely differently, even though it does pretty much the same thing. The only reason I didn't like this one because I didn't find it was too overly friendly to, say, a new user. If someone was just jumping in trying to figure this out right off the bat, it could be a little bit confusing, because a lot of stuff would have to change, such as the names of the directories and how they're laid out and all that stuff. As this script isn't nearly as forgiving, it's perfect for someone like me because the files and stuff, or the way I have my system configured, doesn't change very much often or ever, if at all. So the script was just perfect. But I was thinking, if I post this to YouTube, how am I going to make this script in a way that pretty much anyone can just drag and drop it off the website, save the file and run it, and it just works. And the version I showed you today that we just built was definitely the closest version I got to that. But if you guys can think of anything or any other ways to the script be more efficient, so not only you can run it, so you can give it to, say, anyone off the street and they can throw it in their machines and it would do everything fine for them. And the main problem I found with that is just the way notes are laid out on different machines. I did try this on other computers with other accounts and stuff like that. And it worked, I'd say 60% of the time, just for blindly throwing it to anyone. But a couple of people that I knew that did have a little more Linux experience than I did had absolutely no problems with it. And one of them did have, I guess, a couple of issues, but it didn't take long to get it sorted out, as pretty much all we had to do is rename a couple of his directories, or one directory was, say, in a directory too far that couldn't be accessed and stuff like that. So, yeah, as you can see here, I also had to specify the paths to the categories or the directories that I had within directories, and I was assigning values, say 1 and 2 for each one of those categories. And then I was selecting that category to show the notes from by using a 1 or a 2. And that can get complicated pretty quick too, especially if you have a whole bunch of different directories, say in one directory that you're trying to access. You don't want to assign each one of those directories a number and have to manually do that each time you change something. You'd have to come in here and change a whole bunch of stuff. It'd just be a disaster. But at least this way, you only have to change like maybe 2 or 3 things. So that's why I actually ditched this script and I went back to the one that we're currently using. So maybe if I just go back to that. And we're over here, bash, so I'll go into testing. And we'll have another quick look at my notes there. Sorry about that. My typing is atrocious today. I'll try that once more here. My notes, SH. There we go. This is certainly a little more confusing, or config. I didn't talk today either. Holy smokes. A little less complicated, I guess, to get going than the one I just showed you. And this is the main one that we had just built. Because right up here, we only need to provide one path. And that's just, I guess, the parent directory to wherever you have all your notes. And then right down here, I'm using a whole bunch of different variables. Let's grab this. I keep forgetting I can't do that in Vim. Let's have to use Shift, I guess. Well, Shift kind of works. Not great, though. Trying to show you a couple of things I had a lot of that you might have problems with in the future. So clear the screen, show directory contents. That should be fine. So like you can see right here, I use after we find the directory, or after we find the note, or the notes categories or whatever, we can save that in these variables, which makes it a lot easier for someone, say, installing this on a completely different system, because we're using the variables to point to all these directories and notes. If their directories and notes are in a completely different location, pretty much all they're going to need to do is just change the path up here at the top. And they should be able to find those directories and notes from where the script takes them. And then they just have to choose whether they want to read or edit it as to what application it opens up in. And that's pretty much it. So it's hard with these types of things. I know as soon as I close this video off and upload it, there's going to be 10 more things I think of that, oh shoot, I should have mentioned this. Yeah, but I mentioned the path already. We got that taken care of. Our alias is good, so we can run it anywhere we want. And yeah, I guess the next step would just be to just start adding more directories and see what you get. But say if you have your notes, set up something like this, like say you have one application like I do for, going to text here. Say if you have one directory for your applications notes, another one for your system, and then inside of applications, you just have a list of applications with individual notes inside of there. And same deal with system. If you just have a few things in there like audio, you see I have Bash and Python there too, but say like audio, video editing, stuff like that. If all your directories are only 2 or 3 directories long or in depth, you shouldn't have any issues. But if that's not the case, yeah, you'll definitely have to play a little bit with this stuff down here. So you'll definitely want to change that main path to your notes. And that should pretty much get you moving most of the way through the script. And if your stuff's laid out completely different than mine, yeah, you'll definitely have to just change and tinker with a few things in here. But it shouldn't be too hard at all. Because I certainly tried to set it up so just anyone could just grab it, throw it on the computer, and get access to all their notes, which sounds perfect and wonderful, but it just doesn't always happen that way. But I think this is the closest thing we'll get to that without, I guess, more input from other people telling me things I'm doing wrong or what I could be doing better. I did try to eliminate as many if statements and stuff like that as possible. Used a lot of or operators. So like as you can see right here, we're using an or operator instead of an if and else statement and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit cleaner and a little more easier to understand if you're trying to edit this later. And shoot, I know there's stuff I'm forgetting. Let me go back to the website. And sorry, I had to explain all that stuff in the browser here. I know the text is so small, but just with Vim, I found it a little more difficult going up and down the pages and stuff. I'm going through line by lines and stuff is really easy, but I find when you want to go up a full page, you have to use the page up and you end up skipping a bunch of stuff. And yeah, if someone knows a lot more about Vim too, and they wouldn't mind shooting me a few hints, that'd also be appreciated. But execution, we already did that. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this one. I hope it helped with your note-taking needs. If you had any issues at all, please don't be afraid to just to let me know through the comment. Or if you don't want to do the comment section, what you can do too is maybe just go to my website here, Fossa Media, and go to contact. Oh shit, I forgot it. I got this form temporarily going nowhere right now because just the amount of spam I was getting last month or 2 months ago was just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm up to, I guess, about almost 150 spam filters now on my email. And yeah, I'm just getting sick of it. It takes up probably about 10 or 20 minutes a day just setting up new spam filters. So yeah, for now, the form isn't working too great. At least I'm not gonna see anything from it if you put stuff in here. But if you do want to get a hold of me at all, and you don't want to do it through the comment section on YouTube, you can just email me at info@fossmanmedia.com or either support@fossmanmedia.com if you're having problems that require not immediate attention, but I'll certainly try to get to the support ones faster than the info ones. And yeah, please do that. Don't be afraid to let me know if you need help with anything, or not even if you need help, just if you want to rant, if I did something completely stupid and you've been scratching your head all day for something an easy problem, that was my fault. Yeah, please let me know about that stuff. As I promise not to get mad. It just makes me better. At least that's the idea. And we already did all that stuff. Note management. But yeah, I think I'm going to close it off. So I hope I didn't forget anything too pertinent. If I did, I'll I guess just leave it in the comment section of the video. Because I know editing is pretty limited on the YouTube platform. After you upload something, I think you can only cut certain parts out, and that's pretty much it. As opposed to laying text, saying something like, oops, I should have done this. I don't think you can do that on there. So, well, yeah, if I notice any mistakes before then, I'll make sure to actually edit the video in an editor, and so I can add all that stuff. But I'll just keep my fingers crossed I didn't miss too much, and this goes okay for you. Just please let me know if that's not the case, and I'll usually get back to you within a day or two, and we'll just try to get it sorted out. And I'm sure that'll help me learn a lot too in the future, because it's not a perfect script, but I think it's pretty good for what I need right now. And I just tried, my main goal was just to create this script in a way that anyone could just grab it, save the file and run it. But definitely a couple of caveats that you may have to work through. But I think as far as a goal similar to that, I've gotten pretty close. But yeah, just let me know if I missed anything. Yeah, or just if you can think of any way of how the script can be improved. This is one of those things that does kind of seem really small and insignificant at the beginning, but it kind of turns out to be a huge thing. Like the post install script I did a while ago. I thought that was going to be super easy because there's really only basic things that you want to install on your system and do after you install an operating system. But that too actually turned out to be quite confusing. And plus too, also like making code in HTML that you're seeing right now and being able to copy that code as it's foreign code with everything working the way it should without special characters screwing stuff up in that is pretty challenging too. But I'm 99.9% sure I've already cleaned all that stuff up. And if you're just copy and pasting everything right here, it should go just fine for you. I guess just the two biggest things is to double check and make sure we have bash installed. But 99% chance, it's just going to be installed in this exact same spot, user bin bash. And after that, you're just going to want to make sure that you provide the path to where the notes are on your system, which is right there. And of course, install these dependencies. But all that's super easy to do with this command right here. And even if you don't have Vim on your system, it's always nice to have it anyways. In case you're, say, stuck in a terminal and you don't want to use Nano, it's always nice to have Vim. And yeah, I think I'm finally going to say it for the final time. I think that's it. If you guys run any problems, please let me know. I'm not too hard to find. And hopefully I can help you solve them out, or you can do me a favor and teach me some stuff. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. I hope to see you on the next one, and bye for now.